Today we're going to talk about Workbook 4A, Exercise 5. In the textbook, this is on page 12 through 14. It's a new topic for us. We're going to talk about rounding off numbers, or just simply rounding. Another way to talk about it is estimation. All of these words we'll be using over the next few days as we work these exercises. In the picture on page 12, you see that Maggie says that, or the information tells us that Maggie saved $61, Rosa saved $68, and Brandy saved $75. And so what Maggie says is, I saved about $60. And what Rosa says is, I saved about $70. And Brandy says, I saved about $80. What they're doing is giving an about answer. It means it's not exactly right. It's a rounded answer or an estimation of what they actually saved. When you round off numbers, in this case we're rounding to the nearest 10, you go to the value of 10 that is closest to the number. So I have a line of numbers or a number line, and you know that this number right there, 61, notice I have 60 in heavy red line and 70 is a heavy red line. Look right in the middle of each of these. There's a little bit of a longer line right in the middle that represents 65, but each of these lines is one number: 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. Each of these is one. So if I look at the number 61, the closest 10, the closest value of 10 is 60. If I look at the number 68, that number is closer to 70. Right? 70 is the closest 10. And then you're probably already thinking, wait a minute, what about if the answer, or if the number they made is $75? 75 is right in the middle. Well, we have a rule for that. If you're right in the middle of two numbers, you always bounce up. Always. The closest 10 is not really closer to 80 than to 70, but we have to have a rule so we know what to do when we get to a middle number. And what we always do is we round up. We go up to the next 10. So let's look at page 14. It gives us some numbers to look at. If you consider the number 29, can you look at that number and think about it and know which 10 it's closest to? If you were to count and think about from 20 to 30, because 29 is definitely between 20 and 30, and 29 is way on that side, it would round to 30. Now sometimes we use this little squiggly sign. It's not equal. An equal sign are lines, and of course 29 is not equal to 30, but 29 is approximately 30. It's close to 30. What about the number 38? It's between what two numbers? Between 30 and 40. If we think of the middle as 35, which side is 38 on? The side closer to 40 or the side closer to 30? Of course it's closer to 40, so we would say that 38 rounded to the nearest 10 is 40. 82, can you do it without a number line? 82 rounded to the nearest 10 is 80. Then we have the one in the middle. Do you remember the rule for the one in the middle? 90 and 100 are the two 10s that are on either side of 95. 95 is right in the middle, so we always round up. If you're in the middle, go to the next one above it. Then we look at numbers on number 2. Look how this goes. If we have a number like 234, it looks different because it's a 3-digit number. Our instructions are the same. We're still going to round to the nearest 10, so when you look at 234, you need to realize that that is between the tens of 230 and 240. One of those will be the closest 10. And of course, if 235 is right in the middle, we know that 234 is closer to 230. What about a 4-digit number? 1,458. The closest tens are 1,450, 1,460. In between those two is 1,455, and we know that 58 is closer to 1,460. Now all of this is being done because the instructions said to round to the nearest 10. And so we're going to make sure that we follow those instructions. So on the last one here, 2,735 will be between 2,730 and 2,740. In fact, it's exactly halfway between. So what's our rule? If it's in the middle, you round up. So 2,735 rounded to the nearest 10 is 2,740. Now, continuing on 14, there are several problems that they give us to do some more practice rounding to the nearest 10. At this point, I would encourage you to do one of two things. Either you can look at these numbers, I'm going to highlight a few and then talk about them. You can look at these numbers and draw a picture like we've been doing and say 129 is between 120 and 130. Of course, 125 is in the middle, and 129 would be on the right side of that, so it's about the same. It rounds to 130. And you could draw that for each one of these. But you can also think about it this way. Right now, the 10 is a 0. It's 20 tens, if you will. And if I go one past that, I'm still going to be closer to the 20 tens. So when I round, I'm just going to round to 20 tens. Notice every time you round to a 10, what's that last digit? Let me go back to the last page. Every time we rounded to the nearest 10, our last number, every time, the last number is always 0 because you're rounding to a 10. So on these, we just have to decide which 10 we're going to go to. From 20 tens, this is 20 tens, this is 21 tens. 201 is closer to 20 tens than it is to 21 tens. So 20 tens or 200 is our answer. Think of this as 45 tens. If I go 2 past that, am I closer to 45 tens or closer to 46 tens? And the answer is that I'm closer to 45 tens. Look at letter D. This is 68 tens. I'm going to go 5 past that. What does that put me? That's exactly halfway. When you go to the halfway point, we always round up, and so this will be 69 tens is the closest 10. Again, the instructions here are round to the nearest 10. So if you think about all this way we've been talking about numbers, yes, letter E is 2,069. It's also 206 tens and 9 ones. 206 tens and 9 ones is closer to 207 tens than it is to 206 tens. It's a nice way of thinking about rounding. 435 tens, go 5 more. You're exactly halfway between, so we're going to round to 436 tens. We always round up when you're in the middle. 480 tens and 5 more is exactly in the middle, so we're going to round up to 481 tens. 5,508 is 550 tens and 8 more, which means it's closer to 551 tens. I like that way of thinking about rounding, And with those thoughts, and again, you can draw a picture. You could certainly draw and realize that this is 550 tens, and this is 551 tens, and this is 5,505. So 5,508 is closer to 5,510. You can do that, but you can also think about it, or you can draw it, whatever works best for you. And now you're ready to do exercise 5.